You can replace this text with any text you wish. You can either write in this text box or paste your own text here. Try different languages and voices. Change the speed and the pitch of the voice. You can even tweak the SSML, speech synthesis markup language. 2. Control how the different sections of the text sound. Click on SSML above to give it a try. Enjoy using text-to-speech. Number 1. Thinking about thinking. Most people think thoughts the way a dog chases cars, intensely emotionally, and with no plan for what happens if they actually catch one. You, on the other hand, can step back and watch your own brain like it's a mildly unhinged coworker. This is called metacognition, which sounds fancy but really means your brain noticing your brain being weird. Imagine you're angry during an argument and suddenly think, wow, I'm getting angry right now. That tiny pause is powerful. Your emotions hate being observed. The moment you look at them directly, they start to lose their grip. Like a cartoon villain exposed by a flashlight. Your brain runs on autopilot most of the day, recycling the same reactions, assumptions, and dramatic overreactions like a broken playlist. Thinking about your thinking interrupts that loop. Psychologically, this works because emotions and thoughts aren't commands. They're suggestions. Loud ones, sure, but still suggestions. When you notice a thought instead of obeying it, you create space. And in that space, smarter decisions sneak in, quietly, like adults entering a room full of toddlers. Basically, your brain is a magic show, and most people never question the tricks. You're the person checking behind the curtain. Number 2. The Name-It-To-Tame-It Trickery. Feeling something but you don't know what is it. Anger, anxiety, hunger, pretending to be a personality. Most people just sit inside the emotion, like it's bad weather, and hope it passes. Smarter brains do something sneakier. They name it the moment you label a feeling. This is frustration. This is jealousy. This is low-grade existential dread. With a hint of caffeine withdrawal, your brain shifts gears. Neuroscience shows that naming emotions reduces activity in the emotional centers and increases activity in the rational ones. Translation: your brain calms down when you call it out. Like a child who stops screaming once you acknowledge them. Imagine your brain as a cluttered junk drawer. When everything is just stuff, it's overwhelming. The second you slap labels on things, pens here, batteries there, the chaos becomes manageable. Emotions work the same way. Unnamed feelings feel infinite. Named feelings feel finite, smaller, and slightly embarrassed. This is why journaling works, why therapy works, and why muttering, "I'm just tired and overthinking," at 2 a.m. can feel like emotional CPR. You're not fixing the problem. You're shrinking it. Basically, emotions are loud until you put a name tag on them. Then they suddenly remember their indoor voice. Number 3. Confusing familiar with true. You've believed a lot of things simply because you've heard them a lot. Not because they're correct. Not because they make sense. Just because your brain saw them walk by often enough that it nodded politely and let them move in. This is called the familiarity effect, and it's one of your brain's laziest party tricks. Imagine hearing the same song every day. At first, it's annoying, then it's catchy, then suddenly, you're defending it online like it raised you. Ideas work the same way. Repetition feels like truth. Familiarity feels like accuracy. Your brain quietly assumes, well, I've seen this before, so it must be legit. Smarter people catch themselves doing this and ask one dangerous question. Do I believe this because it's true, or because it's familiar? That question alone pops mental bubbles, like bubble wrap. Advertisers hate it. Conspiracy theories fear it. Your brain resists it like a cat being bathed. Psychologically, this happens because your brain is obsessed with efficiency. Familiar things require less energy to process, so they feel safer, smoother, more trustworthy. It's not logic, it's mental muscle memory. When you pause and recheck familiar beliefs, you're forcing your brain to wake up instead of sleepwalking. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but so is realizing you've been confidently wrong for years. Basically, Your brain loves reruns, and sometimes mistakes them for documentaries. Number 4, the illusion of knowing. You know, that moment when someone asks a simple question, and your brain responds with confidence, right up until you try to explain it out loud, and everything collapses like a cheap lawn chair. That's the illusion of knowing, and it's one of the most humbling experiences available to humans without medical supervision. You feel like you understand how something works: voting systems, nutrition, the economy, coffee machines. But that feeling is a lie. Your brain tells to avoid embarrassment and effort. Psychologists call this the illusion of explanatory depth, which is a polite way of saying your brain is bluffing. Try explaining how a toilet works, not philosophically, mechanically. Suddenly you're sweating. Water goes somewhere, there's a lever. Gravity gets involved. Exactly. The confidence evaporates the moment details are required. Smarter people use this illusion as a test. When you think you understand something, try teaching it out loud in simple language, without buzzwords. If the explanation falls apart, congratulations, you just found the edge of your knowledge. Instead of living in imaginary expertise, your brain prefers vibes over blueprints. It wants the feeling of knowing, not the labor of understanding. But real intelligence shows up when you're willing to admit, actually, I don't fully get this yet. Basically, your brain is great at nodding along and terrible at building IKEA instructions. Number 5, the power of slight delay. You don't need iron willpower to be smarter. You just need a tiny pause, a microscopic delay between impulse and action, small enough that it feels pointless, powerful enough that it changes everything. Imagine your phone buzzes. Your hand moves before your brain finishes loading. That's impulse. Now imagine you wait 3 seconds. Not forever. Not monk-level discipline. Just long enough to notice the urge, instead of obeying it. That pause is where smarter behavior lives. Psychologically, this works because impulses are short-lived but loud. They're like toddlers in a supermarket, intense, dramatic, and absolutely convinced they need this right now. If you don't react immediately, the emotional spike begins to decay. Your rational brain finally clocks in, coffee in hand, asking what the plan is. This trick shows up everywhere. Waiting before replying to a message you're angry about. Pausing before buying something you suddenly need. Taking a breath before interrupting someone. The delay doesn't kill the desire, it lets you evaluate it. Most urges don't survive inspection. Neuroscience backs this up. Self-control isn't about strength. It's about timing. You're not suppressing the impulse. You're letting it burn itself out. Like a spark with no fuel. Basically, intelligence often looks like doing nothing for 3 seconds, while your brain throws a very brief tantrum. Number 6, distrusting your first reaction. Your first reaction feels fast, confident, and emotionally charged, which is exactly why it's suspicious. Your brain evolved to react quickly, not accurately. Speed kept your ancestors alive. Accuracy is a newer upgrade, and frankly, still a little buggy. Picture someone cutting you off in traffic. Your brain instantly writes a screenplay. This person is selfish, reckless, probably evil, and definitely having a worse life than me. That story arrives fully formed. No evidence required. Smarter people don't suppress that reaction. They simply don't hand it the microphone. Psychologists call this system 1, thinking fast, intuitive, emotional. It's useful for dodging cars and recognizing faces, but terrible at nuance, fairness, and modern problems. The smarter move is to activate system 2, which is slower, quieter, and annoyingly reasonable. It asks questions your first reaction hates, like what else could be going on? Or do I actually know this? This doesn't make you passive. It makes you accurate. You still feel the reaction, but you treat it like a rough draft, not the final answer. Most people publish their first draft emotionally and spend hours dealing with the consequences. By waiting a beat and reframing the situation, you stop your brain from turning assumptions into facts. And suddenly, Life feels less like a constant personal attack, and more like a series of mildly confusing events. Basically, your first reaction is a headline. Your intelligence shows up when you read the article. Number 7. Using confusion as a signal. Most people hate feeling confused. The moment things stop making sense, their brain panics, grabs the nearest explanation, and says good enough. Smarter people do the opposite. They treat confusion like a blinking warning light that says, pay attention. Something interesting is happening here. Imagine reading an article and hitting a sentence that doesn't quite land. Your brain wants to skim past it, pretending understanding happened. That urge is intellectual fear. Confusion feels like incompetence, but it's actually the doorway to learning. Every time you feel confused, your brain is standing at the edge of a map labeled, "Here be dragons." Psychologically, confusion activates deeper processing. Your brain stops autopiloting and starts building new mental connections instead of recycling old ones. That's uncomfortable because it costs energy. Your brain is basically a phone stuck in low power mode, begging you not to open another app. Smarter people pause and ask, what exactly don't I understand? That question alone turns vague confusion into a specific problem, which your brain loves solving. Suddenly, learning feels like detective work instead of punishment. Ironically, the people who seem the most confident are often the least curious. They flee confusion like it's contagious. The sharp ones linger there, poking it with a stick, asking annoying questions, and refusing to move on too fast. Basically, confusion isn't a failure. It's your brain stretching and complaining loudly about it. Number 8. Assuming you're missing something. When something doesn't make sense, most people assume the world is wrong. Smarter people assume they might be missing a piece. That tiny shift in attitude is intellectual jet fuel. Imagine watching a movie everyone loves, and you're sitting there thinking, this is it. The easy conclusion is that everyone else is stupid. The smarter move is to wonder, what are they seeing that I'm not? Not because they're automatically right, but because curiosity beats dismissal every time. Psychologically, this works because your brain is allergic to uncertainty. Declaring something dumb or bad closes the case and saves energy. Assuming you're missing something keeps the case open, and open cases invite investigation, learning, and occasionally, the discovery that you were wrong. In a surprisingly interesting way, this doesn't mean blindly agreeing with others. It means suspending judgment long enough to explore, ask better questions, look for hidden assumptions, change perspectives. Sometimes you'll confirm your original opinion. Other times your brain levels up quietly, while your ego pretends it wasn't involved. The smartest people you know don't sound smart because they have answers. They sound smart because they ask questions that feel slightly uncomfortable, even to themselves. They treat understanding like a scavenger hunt, not a courtroom verdict. Basically, intelligence grows fastest when you assume there's a missing puzzle piece and resist the urge to flip the table instead. Number 9. Letting go of being right. Your brain loves being right more than it loves being accurate. Being right feels warm, validating, and socially delicious. Being wrong feels like stepping on a Lego barefoot while everyone watches. So most people cling to their opinions like emotional life rafts, even as evidence pokes holes in them. Smarter people do something deeply unsettling. They detach their identity from their beliefs. Instead of thinking I am right, they think I currently think this is right. That tiny grammatical change saves years of unnecessary arguments and mild internet rage. Psychologically, this works because your brain treats beliefs like possessions. Once you own an idea, defending it activates the same systems as protecting your wallet. Threaten the belief, and your nervous system reacts like you're being mugged in a dark alley by a PowerPoint presentation. When you allow yourself to update beliefs without emotional drama, learning becomes lighter. You stop wasting energy defending outdated ideas and start reallocating it toward better ones. This is why truly intelligent people change their minds faster than average, not slower. Being wrong isn't a failure, It's an upgrade notification, but most people ignore the update because they don't like the new interface. Basically, intelligence isn't about winning arguments. It's about quietly uninstalling bad software before it crashes your whole system. Number 10. Treating your brain like a tool, not your identity. Most people walk around thinking, I am my thoughts. Every idea feels personal. Every mistake feels like a character flaw. Every dumb moment feels like evidence presented in court against your intelligence. Smarter people take a step back and realize something. Freeing your brain is a tool you use, not who you are. Imagine blaming a hammer because you missed the nail. That would be unhinged behavior. Yet people do this with their brains constantly. A bad thought shows up, and suddenly, it's what's wrong with me, instead of the much calmer, much smarter response, that was a weird output psychologically. Separating yourself from your thoughts reduces shame and increases flexibility. When thoughts aren't you, they become editable, replaceable, testable. You can run experiments instead of emotional trials. What happens if I think about this differently? What if this belief is just outdated software? This mindset is why smart people recover faster from embarrassment, failure, and bad decisions. They don't spiral, they debug. They treat mental errors like feedback, not verdicts. The brain produces thoughts the way the stomach produces noises, frequently, unpredictably, and not always helpfully. Once you stop defending every thought like it's a family member, you gain the freedom to improve them. And improvement beats self-judgment every time. Basically, your brain is a powerful machine, but it's still a machine. You're the operator. Act like it. That's all for today. I will be making similar videos in the future. Please subscribe to see them.